If I told you that Santa Claus murdered an entire family and burned their house to the ground, would you believe me? So there's this family, right? They get together for Christmas. I think it's 2008. It was Christmas Eve. It was the 24th of December. They're just hanging out. The whole family gets together. It's around 25 people, and they decide to have dinner like they always do. It's a very traditional family. The family's the two parents who are now grandparents, the five kids that then have their own kids as well, and they just all decide to get together for Christmas. They go to these grandparents' home, who by the way were Mexican immigrants. They had come to the US I think 60, 70 years earlier, and then they decide, okay, every year we're going to do this tradition that they had been doing for around 50 years where they get together at their home. They have a massive home, they have like a big garden, they have a pool, they have 2 living rooms, they have 2 fireplaces, they have I think 2 or 3 floors of the house, and they just get together, right? So the family's having dinner, the kids are playing in the second part of the living room, the older people are having the small chat in the front part of the house, which is closer to the entrance, and they're just having this nice Christmas time. So they're doing that, and a couple hours go by, and it gets late, and it's like 11:30, and then at some point they hear a knock on the door, and there's this girl, Katrina, who was the daughter of one of the grandparents that were hosting the event, and she goes to open the door, and she sees Santa Claus, and Santa Claus comes by with like a massive gift, like wrapped in gift paper, and he's dressed as Santa Claus, and he's also huge, and he's got the beard and everything. So she gets extremely excited, and when she opens the door and sees it, she doesn't expect this, but Santa Claus, or the man that was dressed as Santa Claus, pulls a gun out of his costume, points it at her face, and then just pulls the trigger. This Katrina girl immediately goes to the ground, and the entire family is rattled. So you hear them in the living room standing up, going to see what happened. They're screaming because they don't know what's happening, and then Santa Claus steps into the house, takes a couple more semi-auto guns, well, a couple more. He already had one in the hand, and then he picks another one out because he had 3 or 4 in his Santa Claus costume, goes inside the house, and remember, it's a big family, so it's around 25 people just spread around the living room and the farther away part, and also on the top floor I think there was one child that was gaming. So he goes in there, and then everyone's just rattled, and he just starts shooting everyone. He doesn't care, he just shoots everyone that he sees. And yeah, then they recognize him, right? So they recognize who it is, like the 2 sons, and they go, oh, it's Bruce, and they try to like knock him off and try to get a hold of him so that he doesn't keep going on his killing spree. So basically they try to get a hold of him, but they can't. He shoots them both down, and once he shot pretty much everyone that was around, or everyone's scattered, he goes to his gift, tries to unwrap it, or starts unwrapping it, and inside he had built a house-made flamethrower. So this guy just comes in with 4 guns in his suit and a flamethrower wrapped in a gift box. So he goes into the living room, and then he just wanted to take the flamethrower out and burn everything to the ground so that everything gets destroyed, and also like the family and the family legacy with it. But as he goes to take it out, he made a mistake, and apparently the gas that was supposed to ignite at the end of the flamethrower had spread, and once he opened the gift, or like made it not airtight anymore, so he opened the gift, and like the gas went out, it exploded because there were 2 fireplaces at the home. So there's this massive explosion, and the whole house starts burning, and this guy Bruce, that was recognized by one of the brothers, manages to run and escape, and he's the Santa Claus basically. So he manages to get out, and the whole house is in flames, and he made the whole house explode. He shot pretty much everyone that was there, and then he decides to make a run for it. So he goes away, and in the later hours, they find his body. Like he shot himself at the house of his brother, 40 minutes away, 30 minutes away, and committed suicide. Here's the background of the story. So this guy Bruce, maybe like try to understand his motive. He just had several issues with money. Like for him, money was the principal part in his entire life and his entire being, and you could see that throughout his history. So this guy Bruce is an engineer. He has a degree. He's a good engineer. He gets a good pay. He makes 6 figures, and he lives he has issues with money, and how are we going to come to find out? So he goes to his first marriage. So he meets a coworker at work that they fall in love and they want to marry, but he doesn't want to spend that much money on a wedding, so she basically has to front all the money for it, which is already a bit questionable. I don't know why you would do that, but she does it. She fronts all the money with her mom together, and basically what he does is he just doesn't show up to the wedding. So he leaves her standing at the altar, and to make matters even worse, he stole the money that she had saved for the wedding. He had stolen that money and ran away to go on a holiday. So that's already questionable. But then in the years after that, he never talks to them again, and in the years after that, he goes and has another romantic relationship with a coworker, and together they have a kid. And this kid grows up with them. They live together. They live in a house, and then at some point, this wife of his comes back home and finds him with the kid in his arms, and the kid was like basically dead. And she's like, "What are you doing? What happened? What happened?" And she's like completely hysterical. It turns out the kid had fallen, or he claimed the kid had fallen in the pool while he was watching TV, and when he noticed it was too late, so he picked out the boy, and instead of doing CPR, he just held it in his hands without doing anything. So she takes the kid, or her son rushes the kid to the hospital, and they get the son to live again. However, and this is extremely sad, the kid sustains substantial damages. So he has brain damages and also physical damages that prevent him from walking and freely speaking, which means that the kid is basically disabled. The medical bills rack up to around $300,000, €350,000 for the accident, and they weren't insured, so they had to pay all of that, and Bruce didn't want to pay a single penny for that. So he again avoids paying anything for his legitimate son, which is already questionable. So life goes on. He decides that he can't live with his son, and he just basically makes a run for it. But the court orders him to pay a part of it and to support. And then he abides by the law and pays and supports the kid. But he doesn't want to have anything to do with the kid, and he basically doesn't live with the kid. So he doesn't see the kid, and he pretends like it's not his. So fast forward, he then marries this girl called Sylvia Ortega. Sylvia Ortega, again, he meets her around 2006, and January 2006, I think, and they hit it off pretty fast. Everything looks nice at the start, like it always is. Like, you have those butterflies and everything goes good, and they hit it off. So they're dating for some time, and he decides that he wants to marry. So they marry, and once they're together and they're living together, she finds out more and more things, and she finds out that he has a son that he doesn't see, or that he never mentioned, from a previous relationship, and that he's claiming tax breaks for a dependent that he shouldn't be getting. And she says, "Why do you claim him as a dependent if you don't pay for him and if you don't visit him and if you basically told me that you don't have a son?" So that's already like where it starts and the issues start. But then it gets even further. He decides that he doesn't want to pay for her sons, because Sylvia comes to the marriage with 2 sons of her own. And he decides he doesn't want to have anything to, well, not anything to do with them, but he doesn't want to pay for the kids. So he doesn't want to share a bank account. He doesn't want to support it financially, and he basically just does the very strict thing to say, all right, your money's your money, my money's my money. So they're saving up for holidays, and they got a savings account on which they got like €80,000, of which he then again steals 70,000 and takes them for himself. And that's when Sylvia's just done, and all of the things get together, and she decides, okay, I don't want to live with you, and there's no point, and they start the divorce process. And then during this divorce process, Bruce claims that she's taking him out to the dryers and that she's ripping him off and whatnot, and he's got a lot of disputes with the judges, and he's just extremely unhappy with the whole situation. And then at some point in September of 2008, he decides to buy his first semi-automatic gun. In October, he then orders a custom-made Santa Claus suit, and he keeps buying guns, because in the US you have to wait 1 month before buying each gun. So he buys one, then he waits a month, then he buys another gun, then he waits a month, and on top of that he stacks up on ammunition, and allegedly he also started building his homemade flamethrower. So he does all this, and he's got the disputes with Sylvia, and he's going to the judge several times, or not to the judge, but he's talking to his lawyers several times a week, and there's still proceedings going on. And in the end, he gets ordered to pay Sylvia some €3,000 of alimony and €10,000 for something else, and he has to give back the wedding ring, and she gets to keep the family dog. He's extremely upset at all of this, probably mostly the financial aspect of it, and at some point he's just underwater, and he's not, even with his 6-figure job, he's not making enough to pay the alimony that he has to pay for her. So the spousal support, which is $3,300, can't pay it, and he goes again to the judge and he asks for a reduction, and they reduce it to $1,700, but he still isn't happy with that because he's still getting at the end of each month, and he's got expenses, and he's got credit card debt, and he's just extremely unhappy, and starts to develop this hate for Sylvia. And he had all these guns and the Santa Claus suit ready and bought. And then just a week or two before Christmas Eve, he had then 4 semi-auto guns, a lot of ammunition, and the homemade flamethrower, as well as the tailor-made Santa Claus suit. Then 2 weeks or 1 week before Christmas Eve, the divorce goes through, and they're finally over. And that's when Bruce allegedly loses it. I don't know if he lost it or he was completely sane, and he just goes on and commits this heinous crime. At the end of it, Katrina, the girl that opened the door, survived because the bullet just went through her cheek and came out the jaw, so she had to get surgery, but she survived. The rest of the family pretty much all died. Sylvia died, the parents died, the 2 brothers died, another daughter died, and I think the mother of Katrina actually survives. And also a couple of the sons survived. So pretty much in an article it said that they all got orphaned after that night, which is just unimaginable. And yeah, police then look for him, and they find that he even wanted to potentially kill the lawyer of his ex-wife, and that he had rigged the car where he left his Santa Claus suit, so that anyone would tamper with the car or with the Santa Claus suit, it would probably blow them up and kill them. So that wraps up the story about the most evil Christmas Eve that you could imagine. If you enjoyed this content and want to see more of it, then you have to like and subscribe, and you have to watch all of our videos to help us out, and of course create more videos for you. So thank you very much for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.